Good evening, race fans, and welcome back to season number 10 of the Attrition Sim Race Campus Oval Series presented by SM Racing. Tonight, we are here to crown a champion one way or another here at the USA International Speedway. It's a track we've been to every single season since the league's inception, and every single season we have seen a different winner take home the checkered flag. Jason Gardner, Benjamin Hars, Brian Lockwood, Tyler McRae, Charles Cruz, Brad Ringer, David Sluiter, Anthony Nadell, Mike Sukup, all drivers that have cut their teeth here at this speedway. And of course, USA down in Lakeland, Florida, always one of my favorite tracks just because it amuses me the fact that it has been here on the iRacing.com platform for longer than it has existed in the real world. That said though, we had a little bit of technical difficulties up in the booth, so we're only just now getting the feed rolling, but drivers have made their way down to the starting grid and they are just about to get things rolling here. So how about we take a quick look down at our starting lineup for this evening's event. Starting out on the pole of this thing, that's going to be the number 45 of Mr. Mike Sukup, our current championship leader coming into tonight's event. And actually, looking at the field as it is right now, he just straight up is our current champion. The only two drivers that could contest him for that title right now, Tyler McRae and Brian Sabelski, both of which not in attendance this evening. So Mike Sukup has officially won the championship just by showing up, but that doesn't mean tonight is going to be one heck of a race. Starting back in position number 2, that's going to be the number 93 of Mr. Jason Gardner, driving a Pontiac of all manufacturers. Rounding out the top 3, though, that's going to be the 25 of Mr. Rob Haynes in the Shayna Made of Magic Travel entry, making his first start here this season. Of course, a long-time driver here with the league, just has not really been able to come out these past couple of weeks, so definitely great to see him out here. Starting back in position number 4, that is going to be the number 4 of the 78, excuse me, of Derek Murphy in the Angry Larry number 78, rounding out position number 4. Fifth place going to go back to that number 15 SM Racing driver. That's going to be Garrett Streets, rounding out the top 5, with rookie driver Patrick Dixon in the number 2, rounding out our 6-car field here this evening. It does look like Nico Morelli unable to attend for tonight's event, so that's how we're going to line them up. Green flag up in the air here at the USA International Speedway, and it's Mike Sukup that's going to have the advantage going down into turn number 1. Rob Haynes moving his way up into second pretty quickly, just like that. Everyone else behind, they were 2 by 2 there, but for just a moment, they have all gotten themselves straight out, at least for the time being. 100 laps, after all, is a pretty decently long time, especially at one of these larger circuits like the USA International Speedway. Fuel mileage not going to be quite as much of a factor as it was back in Phoenix, but it will be a pretty big deal here this evening, especially with this smaller field. I'd imagine we're not going to see a lot in the way of cautions, and if that ends up being the case, these drivers are really going to have to stretch these tanks here this evening. So far, though, everyone single file around the speedway. Mike Sukup, the race leader. Rob Haynes and Garrett Streets, the only 2 drivers that have gained position so far. Both of them have swapped the spot with the drivers behind him. So, of course, Jason Gardner's fallen back a spot. Derek Murphy has fallen back a spot. But right now, just trying to figure out their way through this one, because it's going to be a pretty long evening here. And of course, I say that if they keep it green, then these laps are going to click by faster than they expect. Of course, coming in at 0.75 miles or 1.2 kilometers in length, this speedway is a little bit longer than what you'd consider a proper short track, but it is still less than a mile. So technically it falls into the category. It depends on how you want to stretch it. But one way or another, these drivers are cutting their teeth out here. And like I said, this speedway has been here on the iRacing.com platform for longer than it existed in the real world. And along with that, this is one of the free tracks that comes with your base iRacing.com subscription. So all of these drivers have had plenty of experience here in their racing careers, because this is one of the tracks where you have to cut your teeth in as a rookie driver here on the iRacing.com platform. If you want to drive oval cars, this is where you get your feet wet. Mike Sukup holding on to the lead for the time being, but I'll tell you what, he is not broken away as much as I thought he was going to, considering the speed we've seen out of him in the past couple of weeks. Right now, only about half-second lead over Rob Haynes, and then Jason Gardner back in position number 3. And Rob, he's being able to close the distance a little bit. Looks like maybe these two drivers sending it in a little bit deeper into corner entry than Sukup is, because Sukup's really carrying that speed off a bit better than Haynes and Gardner both are. And Gardner, he is pushing. He really wants to get himself up inside the top 2 here. He has taken home a couple of podiums, including last week at the National Fairgrounds Speedway, but a top 2 or even a win is something he has not managed to pull off in a little while. And of course, Gardner is one of the drivers who has taken home a win at this Speedway. Gardner actually got it done all the way back in season number 1, where this Oval Series all began way back in the spring of 2021. Back then, of course, we were racing in the street stock, so a little bit of a lower powered car than these late model stock cars here on the iRacing.com platform. I'll tell you what, these drivers have adapted to these faster cars quite well over the course of this season. Of course, these late model stock cars were new to the iRacing.com platform, came out here on the platform at this point about 3 months ago. And of course, the ASRC Oval Series swapped to them right when it all began. Right when it came out, these drivers decided, you know what? Let's go ahead and give it a try. And so far, we've heard pretty positive things from all these drivers about how this new late model stock car handles, particularly compared to the old one, because the old one, that old Chevrolet Monte Carlo SS, has been on the iRacing.com platform for a very long time now without seeing any sort of updates done to it as the technology in the game has progressed. So now we're here with these shiny new 2023 Cars Tour late models, and they always manage to put on one heck of a show. Right now, of course, looking at the battle for second between Rob Haynes, Jason Gardner, and Garrett Streets has now gotten himself up in the mix here. Haynes is going to end up going high through the corner. Now they're 2x2 across the line. Gardner's going to be the one having the advantage out of all of this, but who will it be that makes the pass happen down low? That's going to be Garrett Streets, now moving himself up a spot. And now Streets finds himself in a situation where he is the only driver with a net gain of positions on the Speedway right now. Everyone else has either lost spots or is still running right where they qualified at the beginning of this thing. Things getting a little bit more spread out further back in the back of the field. Currently, rookie driver Patrick Dixon in that number 2 Miller entry is at the tail end of the field right now. He's got about a second between himself and Derek Murphy. Dixon, of course, made his debut here with the lead, it looks like last week at the Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway, where he brought it home in the 6th position. So right now, not really a gain or a loss. He's running back where he was last week's event, but hey, you never know what could happen in these next 80 laps. Maybe he will gain some of those positions back. Maybe even get his first top 5 here at the Christensen Race Campus. About a second, close to a second and a half up in front of him. That's going to be the 78 of Derek Murphy, who's currently down a position from where he qualified. Coming into tonight's event, Murphy is being scored back into the 8th position in the championship standings, just behind Garrett Streets. About Looks like 9 points separating those two drivers, and Garrett Straits is actually tied in the championship going into tonight's event with Nathan Morelli in that 14, who unfortunately was not able to make the call to the grid. So that alone will immediately be moving Straits comfortably up into the top 6, and depending on how his battle with Jason Gardner goes here, he could find himself up inside the top 5. And by that same logic, that will be moving Derek Murphy at least on up to 7th in the championship standings. Of course, out of 16 drivers that have competed in at least one race so far this season. Rob Haynes, though, up in front of him. Rob is making his first start of the season in that number 25 machine, and that means he has no points to work with here. But of course, he's not here to take home any championships. He's just here to have a good time in the number 25 machine. After that event, he most likely will be bringing home last place in the championship standings. But he's here, he's competing, and who knows, maybe we might just see more of him in season number 11. The finer details of season number 11 not quite been worked out yet, but we will be following our normal format of taking the next week off after tonight's event and then coming back the week after that. And soon we'll have a brand new schedule figured out for that 12-week competition, and I think it's pretty much decided we're going to be sticking with this late model software. It has been putting on some pretty solid shows all throughout this season. Further up in the field, though, Jason Gardner is actually slowly but surely closing the gap on Mike Sukup just a little bit. He's keeping it down within a second. But considering how a couple of the previous races went, that is a pretty considerable feat on its own. Let's wait for these drivers across the line, see how the timing and scoring updates. Last time by, Jason Gardner was the fastest driver on the Speedway. He did set down a faster lap time than our lead lap driver of Mike Sukup here. Admittedly, only by 0.02 of a second, but those little bits can definitely add up over the course of a race. We're just gonna have to see how the long run plays out here, because of course, tire wear and fuel mileage are most likely going to be the big deciding factors here if this race manages to go green for all 100 laps, which it is definitely possible that could happen. We went green for all 100 laps at the Phoenix Raceway 2 weeks ago. And a little bit of trouble, Rob Haynes has fallen back a couple of positions. He has been passed by Derek Murphy, and Patrick Dixon is closing the gap a little bit, though he does have 2 seconds to make up on that number 25. Let's take a quick look back, see if we can't see what happened to Rob Haynes that made him lose that much ground just like that. Maybe not as far back as we need to go, considering Rob seems fine right here in that 25 machine, so I'm assuming that maybe he just got up into the outside wall and had to slow down a bit, but he lost nearly a second of time just in a matter of a couple of laps. So that's going to bump him all the way back into the 5th position. Derek Murphy finding himself up inside 4th now. Well, these two drivers now currently the closest battle on the Speedway. About 3/10 dividing the two of them. Rob Haynes, of course, a driver that has a lot of experience here with the ASRC Oval Series. He has been here since season 1, off and on, be it in the street stocks, in the late model, in the modified division. No matter what we've raced, he's been here through it, through thick and thin, so definitely great to see him out here and see that he was able to at least attend one race in season number 10. But again, another little bobble there, another scrape against the outside wall. I definitely think there might be a little bit of handling issues going on under the hood of that number 25 that's not making it steer quite the way he is wanting it to. Let's actually take a moment to ride on board with the driver of the number 25, see what all he is seeing through his helmet camera here. maybe get a little bit of a better sense of what these drivers are going through out here on this 3/4 of a mile speedway. Of course, here in the late model stock, no gear shifting is really required, especially not here at USA. You just bring it on up to 4th when the green flag flies, and you're good for the rest of the way there. But again, Rob, it looks like maybe he's pushing a little bit too much out of the corner, causing that late model to just get a bit too tight and push up off the corner into the wall. That seems to be a little bit of what the deal is for that number 25. Definitely not quite handling the way he wants it to be handling here. Haynes now finding himself with nearly a 1.5 seconds between himself and the whole rest of the field, and Patrick Dixon slowly but surely is closing back in that number 2 machine. Looking around the field though, everyone's gotten pretty spread out except for our 2 drivers up at the very front. Mike Sukup, Jason Gardner, the 2 closest late models on the speedway, 0.3 seconds dividing the 2 of them. And again, last time by, Gardner is faster than Sukup by a couple of thousandths here. This has always been a track where we've seen Gardner put on a very solid display, but for him to be contending with the championship leader here, who has 6 wins to his name when Jason only has a couple of podiums so far this season, is definitely really impressive to be seeing out of that number 93 machine. But he is making it happen here around the USA International Speedway. It's just ultimately going to be a question of, can he keep that pace up in the latter half of this race, or is he going to burn those Goodyear tires off of it? Because the way it's looking right now, I'm getting a little bit worried about Jason's pace. I'm having to wonder here, is this all going to work out in terms of pit strategy? Is he going to have enough tire left at the end of this thing in order to actually fend Sukup off, should he be able to make the pass? Whole lot of what ifs here, but as we start to close in on the halfway point of the speedway, of this event here, if Gardner manages to hold on to this speed, he might be able to make something work here. Let's see how they look when they cross the line that time by. That time by, Sukup was faster than Gardner, but again, these 2 drivers are only a matter of thousandths separating each other in terms of lap time. But a little bit of scrape against the outside wall there. Jason's maybe starting to push that car a little bit too much, maybe starting to have a little bit of the same handling issues we saw out of Rob Haynes' machine back there in 5th. It is quite possible that Gardner is using up the good on those tires a little bit more than he's intending to here. But regardless, he's keeping pace with Sukup one way or another. And he's not going to make it a walk in the park for that championship leader here. Of course, it is, like I said, none of the championship contenders were able to contend tonight except for our leader of Mike Sukup. So Mike Sukup, he is mathematically our champion right here, right now. There is no changing that. It's just a matter of bringing the race to an end so it can be made official. But the next closest driver in the championship from Sukup right now is actually Jason Gardner, the driver that's just behind him on the speedway. But there is a matter of nearly 100 points separating these 2 drivers. And of course, if you run a perfect race, get every single bonus point possible, and take home the win, the most amount of points you can get here per race is 35. So there's just no way that Sukup can lose the championship at this point. But again, Sukup has taken home 6 wins so far this season. He could be looking to try and make it 7 tonight, and if he does manage to make it 7, that will break the record for most wins by a single driver in a single season. So he is very much deserving of the title. But I'd imagine he was hoping for a little bit of competition for that title in the final race of the season. It sounds like maybe trouble further back in the field here. Let's see if we can't look around and see what's going on. Oh, caution flag is out on the speedway. Rob Haynes is down on, or at least trying to make his way down to pit lane. I'll tell you what, race fans, a caution flag flying here tonight in this 6-car field was not quite on my bingo card here. Rob electing to stay out of the pit lane after all, as it turns out, in that number 25. Let's see if we can't take a look back and see what brought out this yellow flag here on lap number 49. And taking a look back here, already you can start to see the beginning of the end going down into turns 1 and 2. Not quite the line he wants to be running there. Pushes up into the outside wall, and then the car just snaps in on him. That was a hard impact for Rob Haynes. We could hear that impact all the way from over on the front stretch when we were looking at that battle for the lead. Let's take another look back here, see if we can't get a little bit of a better view of it. Everything seems to be fine up until he hits that outside wall. He tries to keep it up there, and the car just snaps left on him. And it definitely looks like there is some sort of damage on that right front, potentially suspension damage there. Taking a little look back at this, let's ride on board with the number 25 going into this incident here. Trying to get slowed down, trying to get it turned and keep speed off the corner, and just into the outside wall. And then it just snaps left on him. So just like that, that will be first caution on the speedway. And pretty understandably, everyone has elected to use this yellow to come on down to pit lane here. Now it's just a matter of getting everyone racked back up, and we can make this thing green flag once again. All drivers look like they are being scored on the lead lap here, as we get everything sorted out and lined back up. Mike Sukup should still be our race leader. But Garrett Streets is actually going to be finding himself up in position number 2. He beat Jason Gardner and Derek Murphy off of pit lane. Looks like we might be seeing some differing tire strategies here, because let's pull up the pit stop times here. And looks like our pit stop time box is not actually going to update until we go green flag racing again, but you'll just have to take my word for it here, race fans. Garrett Streets and Mike Sukup's pit stops were almost 15 seconds faster than Gardner's or Murphy's, which tells me likely Streets and Sukup are on a 2-tire strategy while the other 2 are on 4. Or maybe even Sukup and Streets just outright didn't take tires, period, which is also a possibility. Let's see if we can't take a look back and actually see maybe what these drivers had going on pit lane real quick. And that is not it, as a matter of fact. So maybe we will not be so lucky, but since the lights are out on the iRacing.com pace truck, I'm not going to go through and try and find it, because we are going to be going green flag racing this time by 49 laps in the books is going to be the distance when we go green flag once again. So actually looking a little bit like how things went last week at Nashville. The caution flag came out right on lap 50, right as the pit cycles were beginning. Got a couple of drivers trapped a lap down, but not this time. Everyone is still on the lead lap here, and green flag is back up in the air at the USA International Speedway. Mike Sukup, Garrett Streets, Jason Gardner, your top 3, and Sukup, he's not quite able to pull away here, so maybe that 2-tire strategy wasn't actually the call. It looks like Gardner, just on this open stint, has more speed here. Sure enough, so far everyone maintaining position as we cross the line onto lap number 50, so halfway into our championship event here tonight. And trouble as Rob Haynes is around in the wall again. Caution flag's not going to come out as there are no cars around him on the speedway. He's going to get it rolling once again here. Let's see if we can't take a quick look back to what happened to Rob to see him spun around there again. There's definitely something damaged under that 25 machine that is not making it handle the way he needs it to. The green flag still up in the air. Mike Sukup, our race leader at the moment, and last time by just set a new fastest lap of the race for any driver with a 21.29, so those new tires definitely doing some work here. Question is, will it be enough to keep him up here for the remainder of these about 47 laps or so? Because Streets has fallen back just a little bit. Streets is on the same tire strategy as Sukup is, but then Jason Gardner is right there on the tail of Garrett Streets, and Gardner is not going to be making it easy for that number 15 machine. He has the speed to make it happen. It's just a matter of actually getting around those other late models, because that part is a little bit easier said and done, even if you do have a faster race car to work with. Especially here at USA, where the bottom line is pretty much the line to be on. If you try and make a pass up high, unless there's a really substantial speed difference between the two of you, you're not quite going to be able to make it work. So Gardner, right now his best bet is just to bide his time and try and wait for an opportunity to strike, but he is definitely right there. That said, a little bit of a scrape against the outside wall for that 93. That is going to cost him a little bit of time here. And we do have our leaders coming up on some lap traffic. We're going to have to see how that ends up playing out, because that is Rob Haynes in the 25, the driver that brought out that first caution. He's got the leaders coming up behind him. I'd imagine he's going to go up high and just let him on by, but that still could prove a little bit of a problem, especially with the damage he has on the rear end of that car. And that could be really sketchy for our race leaders as they go past him. That said, still about 4 or 5 car lengths to play with before our leaders actually catch up to that number 25. But Sukup is definitely closing the distance here. And I'd imagine in these next set of corners, Sukup's going to be there. So, I guess the big thing is here's hoping for our race leaders that nothing breaks further on the other side of Rob's car, but sure enough, Rob's going to pull it up high. He does not want anything to do with this battle going on right now. He's going to let these race leaders on by. And the gap is going to close between Streets and Gardner now. Gardner going to move up in front of Haynes, try and get the run out the corner. Not quite able to, and just like that, that gap is going to widen back up a little bit. Haynes now officially being the first car on the Speedway, being scored a lap down here. And with how iRacing's automated race control works, he most likely will not get a lucky dog if another yellow flag comes out, just because it seems to be really finicky. We only realized until about halfway in the season that when you tell iRacing to not let caution flags count towards the duration of the race, it just doesn't give people lucky dogs even when they're supposed to get lucky dogs. So Rob Haynes might just be finding himself stuck a lap down for the rest of tonight's event, but of course there's also very much the opportunity that we don't have another caution flag in the first place anyways. Looking a little bit further back in the field though, Patrick Dixon still managing to hang on to the lead lap for the time being. He is losing ground on that number 2 of Derek Murphy. Or excuse me, that 7-8 of Derek Murphy, who just got around Rob Haynes. Murphy up inside the top 5, 1.6 seconds back from this battle going on up in the front. And look at the lap times last time by. Once it updates for Murphy, it looks like Murphy was about 0.005 of a second slower than Garrett Streets there. So it is still possible that Murphy could catch up to these drivers and get back into the mix up for the front, but it's going to take a lot of time to make that happen at the current pace these drivers are setting, and I don't know if he's really got that time left to play with. After all, only 35 laps left to go here for championship night at the USA International Speedway. And Jason Gardner and Garrett Streets is where all the action is at so far this evening. 0.2 of a second dividing these two late model drivers. League admin Jason Gardner battling it out against Garrett Streets, who is one half of our title sponsor here, SM Racing. I'm not brave enough for politics here, but I think somehow that means this battle could be a little bit more than just for track position between these two late model drivers. That said, it's going to be 33 laps left to go, 2/3 of the way through tonight's event. And Gardner, last time by, was a little bit slower than Streets, a little bit slower than Sukup, so he might have burnt off the good on those tires. Of course, I say that now, this time by, Streets was a full 1/10 of a second slower than Gardner, so Gardner still has something to work with here. He has enough to get up inside the top two for sure, but whether or not he has enough to contest with Sukup remains to be seen. First order of business is actually getting around that 15, and then we'll have to see if he maybe has the speed to close the gap. But Streets is doing a really solid job of holding off that white and orange Pontiac. But Jason's going to go for the move. He's going to send it down low. Not quite close enough to make it stick, but he's still there. 1/10 of a second instant change between these two late model drivers. Jason is really pushing now. He sees that we're at 30 laps left to go. He's decided, no more being patient. I need to get around you if I want to battle for this win. And of course, both Sukup and Gardner are battling not just for the win, but battling to be the first driver here in ASRC history to take home a second checkered flag at the Speedway. Because so far in all 9 seasons of racing prior to this, we've had a different winner at this track every single time. But Sukup's taken home a win, Gardner's taken home a win. Streets has not. So who knows, maybe Streets in the middle here will be this little bit of a wild card and be the one who adds his name to the record book and continues the trend of unique winners at this Speedway. But considering he's losing time on Sukup and only barely being able to hold off Gardner at the time being, I think it might take a little bit of a miracle to make that happen. I'm not going to be the one to curse that number 15, but last time by for Streets, 21.66. Last time by for Gardner, 21.5. So Gardner was actually faster than both Streets and Sukup by a full 1/10 of a second. Sukup is losing speed up there. Gardner just has to get around Streets, and he genuinely might have the pace he needs to catch up to our race leader here tonight. And again, last time by, Gardner a little bit faster than Streets. Sukup was a little faster than Gardner last time by. But it's really close in terms of lap times between all of our top 3 drivers here. And with 25 laps left to go, it is still anyone's game up at the front of this thing. Derek Murphy, Patrick Disson, both drivers have about anywhere between 3 and 5 seconds of room to play with here in front and behind of them, both of them in their own little islands, so to speak. But of course here at USA, drafting is not a big deal. You're not really having long enough straightaways for the draft to come into any sort of major effect. But regardless, it seems like both those drivers are pretty much going to be finishing off where they are right now unless we have another caution flag fly on the Speedway. Which, you never know, that 25 is still out here on the track, and it does look like he's still having some handling issues. He is managing to keep it under him, but Rob Haynes still is out on the Speedway in that 25 machine, and Rob, he did come down to pit lane, he did take tires, but his stop was not really any longer than any of these other drivers, so he definitely still has that damage under the body of that late model stock car he's been having to contend with for these past 30 laps. And a scrape against the wall for Garrett Streets. That might be all Gardner needs to make this pass happen. He's going to pull alongside, side by side, coming out of turn number 4, side by side across the line. Streets is still going to be scored as leader of that battle for that lap, but Jason Gardner has cleared him. Gardner has cleared him. He finds himself up in position number 2. Streets is going to go for the crossover, and not quite close enough to make it happen. Now it's just the question we've all got to ask ourselves: does Gardner have the pace to catch up to Mike Sukup here? Last time by, Sukup was faster than both these drivers, but of course both of them are going to slow down a little bit when they're side by side just to make sure they're not making contact with each other. That's why I want to see what both of them can do in a flying lap and see how they are looking. Last time by, Mike Sukup, Jason Gardner, Garrett Streets, all three of them identical lap times, 21.63 for all three of these top 3 late model drivers. Streets is still right there though. He's holding on to this battle a lot more than I gave him credit for. I thought Streets was surely going to just have an anchor dropped on the back of him once Gardner got around him, but no. He is still very much keeping up with that number 93 without a whole lot of care in the world right now here. Keeping it within 2 to 3 tenths of a second. Let's see how our lap times look as we cross the line this time by. Jason Gardner, the fastest of your top 3 by 3 thousandths of a second. So yes, Gardner, he has the speed advantage on our race leader here, but I don't think it's enough of one to close up a 1.6 second deficit in the course of 16 laps. It's going to be a close one here, race fans. If Mike Sukup makes a mistake, if he scrapes that outside wall, or if he just starts to get tight from burning off rubber, just one little slip up could be all it takes for Sukup, or for Gardner to close the gap to Sukup. 15 laps left to go here. 15 laps is going to be all it takes to sort things out for our championship event. Mike Sukup, he's got the breathing room to play with now. Where is Mr. Rob Haynes though? Does he have any lap traffic to worry about? No, Rob is about half a speedway behind our race leader, so Sukup has a clear speedway ahead to work with here. He just has to hold on for these next 14 laps. And last time by, once again, Jason Gardner slightly faster than Sukup. Just by a very marginal amount, but Jason is gaining on that 45. He's got it down to a 1.5 second gap now. Starting to creep it down to 1.4. This really is going to be a close one. Gardner might be able to close the gap, but he's going to have to make up a lot of ground in these final 12 laps. And I don't know if the speed difference is going to be enough for him to close that up. Garrett Streets, though, he is starting to fall back behind in that 15 machine. Still about half a second between these two late models, but he has lost a bit of ground. And last time by, about 3 thousandths slower than Gardner. Let's see if he gets anything better this time by. Not quite. Gardner's still the fastest of the 3. Both double high five up in the air. 10 laps left to go and still a 1.5, now 1.6 deficit between Gardner and Sukup. I think that fates are sealed here. 9 laps left to go. I don't think that it's possible unless a caution flag were to come out, which is still entirely possible, but I don't think without a caution, that Gardner is going to be able to close up this deficit, because last time by, Sukup was faster than Gardner and Streets. 8 to go now. Just 8 more times around this 0.75 mile long speedway, so 6 miles left to go for these late model stock cars before we close the book on the ASRC Oval Series for season number 10. And I'll tell you what, race fans, what a crazy 12 weeks it has been for these late model stock car drivers. We've seen folks have triumphant highs and absolutely crushing lows, and it all comes down to these last 7 laps. Mike Sukup, he might be our season champion already, but he hasn't entirely locked down the race win here tonight. That said, big high five's going to go up from the flag stand here. 5 laps left to go when we cross the line. 1.4 seconds between Mike Sukup and Jason Gardner. He just has to hold on a little while longer and he will break the record for most wins in a single ASRC Oval Series season. In that Total Car Care Dropping Bombs Racing number 45. I believe 5 different members of the Dropping Bombs Racing team have made appearances here this season. Tyler McRae, one of the other Dropping Bombs Racing members, 2nd place in the championship standings, even though he wasn't able to attend here tonight. And Mike Sukup, 3 laps away from taking home the championship and a new record here in our league. All for the Dropping Bombs Racing team. They have all put on an amazing performance, not only over the course of the past 12 weeks here this season, but as a whole. We see them in the Wednesday night broadcast. We see them all over the IceyToo.com platform. Gonna be 2 laps left to go for Mike Sukup as Jason Gardner scrapes the wall behind him. That gap goes back up to 1.5 seconds. All that progress Gardner's made gone just like that. White flag up in the air. 4 more corners here at the USA International Speedway for Mike Sukup to break the record. And coming out of turn number 4, Mike Sukup is an ASRC Oval Series champion. Mike Sukup breaks the record for most wins in a single season, and Mike Sukup will be taking home a custom-built button box put together by our friends over at the SM Racing team. What a crazy season it has been here for Season 10 of the ASRC Oval Series. And looking at our timing and scoring, looks like Mike will also be the driver who set the fastest lap of the race, so I believe that now makes, I'm pretty sure, 8, if not 9 of the 12 races so far this season where Mike Sukup has set the fast time of the race. And I'll tell you what, he's going to do a little bit of a backwards burnout. I don't like the way that those right side tires came up off the speedway. I don't know how safe that is, but he managed to make it happen here. So race fans, don't go anywhere. We will be back in just a moment with some words from your top 3 finishers here this evening. Alrighty, race fans, welcome back to the USA International Speedway. Welcome back to the championship night here at the Attrition Sim Race Campus Oval Series presented by SM Racing. And rounding things off here tonight, the driver bringing it home back in third position. What better driver to talk to than one half of the men behind SM Racing? Garrett, how you feeling here this evening?
Feeling pretty good. Glad to be back. Had to take a little time off with just life going on. Been missing racing with everybody here. So yeah, good to be back. Good to run pretty well. I like USA. Wasn't really sure how it was going to go without some seat time, but overall not too bad. And happy with third place today.
Good deal. Definitely a heck of a run between you and Jason at the closing ends of that race. Do you think you might have had anything for the 93, depending on how things played out there?
Oh, I kind of slipped up a little bit, and I mean he was pushing hard and racing really respectfully. I appreciate that. Jason always races really well. Um, I kind of left the bottom open, and he got underneath me, so it's kind of one of those. What could it have been if I didn't leave the bottom open? But I opted for the two tire strategy to take the track position and see what would happen. And I know he had four tires, so overall, doesn't really surprise me that he ended up getting me there. But yeah, a lot of good racing and had a lot of fun.
Yeah, definitely a heck of a run here. A heck of a run you've had all season. Couple of podiums to your name. Definitely a very solid run here. Of course, I don't know exactly what next season's schedule is going to look like, but should be a fun one, and hopefully we'll be seeing you out there again.
Yeah, I hope to be there. I plan to be there. I'm sure I'll miss a couple weeks with stuff going on. Summertime's a busy time, but I plan to be there. I look forward to being there probably 2 weeks from tonight. And so I hope to see you all there. Hopefully we can get a good turnout and, get the word out there and get everyone to join this great league that we have going on.
Good deal. And of course, with it being championship night and y'all helping putting this whole thing together, why don't you say a couple of pieces about y'all's organization with SM Racing?
Yeah, SM Racing Products. Check us out at smracingproducts.com. We have button boxes. We also have some shifter plates for Thrustmaster and Logitech shifters coming soon. We've got some new stuff coming out, so keep your eyes on the social media pages and keep your eyes on the website. Just a couple of guys working on it and trying to do some stuff and provide the community with some good equipment at a good cost.
Good deal. And of course, a button box going to our championship winner here tonight. The first time ever in league history that there has been more up for grabs than just bragging rights. So a big thank y'all to SM Racing for putting all of that on here this season. It's definitely been a blast.
Yeah, I'm glad that we could be there. I'm glad that Jason and everyone at ASRC, yourself, let SM Racing Products come on board for the sponsorship. And, we're glad to support a great league and, glad that we have the league support for us as well. So overall, win-win, good people helping good people.
Good deal. Well, one more time for old time's sake. The microphone's all yours, Garrett. Who you want to thank for getting you up here on the podium?
First of all, I want to thank Jason for putting on a lot of this. Aiden, you for broadcasting and helping out on the league admin side. Just want to thank the guys that come out and race every week. I know that I'm not here every week, but there's a lot of people that come out every week, and it's a good group of people to race with. And just thanks for everyone watching. Thanks for everyone being here and supporting ASRC.
Good deal. Well, thank you for coming out, and I look forward to seeing you not next week, but 2 weeks from now for season number 11.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you, Aiden.
And finishing back in position number 2, it's going to be none other than Mr. Jason Gardner, the man who puts all the work in behind this series, bringing home one more podium for the end of the season. Jason, how you feeling here tonight?
Feeling exhausted after that run.
Yeah, definitely quite the green flag run. I imagine you're pretty tired out after that.
Yeah, it's not very often I usually have a car that's actually on pace. The car was fast the entire race long, and yeah, normally not used to having a car that's up there on pace, and every part of my brain was saying, "Don't wreck the car. You have a chance."
Well, to be fair, you pulled it off. You didn't wreck the car. You managed to take home a podium finish. What do you think you might have had to have done differently to challenge Wasuka for the win here tonight?
Uh, it really came down to track position. On that caution, uh, Garrett Garrett came in. Asuka, they both took two tires under that caution pit stop. I ended up taking four, which got me down in third place, and a very bad restart just kind of got me stuck in third. With how these cars are, it's very difficult to pass, especially around here at USA.
Yeah, one way or another, definitely one heck of a race. Another podium finish, a great way to send it off. But coming into tonight's event, Steven Rex, Brian Sabelski, third and fourth, both about 30 points out from you. And since both of them weren't able to attend, it's possible. I haven't done the math yet, but it's possible you could be finding yourself inside the top five or maybe even the top four in the championship here this evening. So
We got to
definitely
do
a solid run.
yeah, we got to do the math on it, but with drop weeks, it will be a long stretch, but I'll be happy if I actually do jump up one more in the points. But if not, oh well. There's always next season.
There's definitely always next season, and I'm sure it's bound to be just as crazy of a one as this season's been. But of course, the microphone's all yours, Jason. One more time before we close it out for season number 10. Who you want to thank for getting you up here tonight?
I just like to thank all of Trisha Sim Race Campus. I also like to thank you for broadcasting all all season. I also like to thank SM Racing for coming on this season as the series sponsor, first time ever for the Oval Series. I also like to thank everybody who participated this season. 'Cause without them, and also without the people watching, this would all not be possible.
Good deal. Well, thank you for coming out. Thanks for putting this whole thing on, and I look forward to seeing you in season number 11.
I'm looking forward to it as well.
And last, but certainly not least, Mr. Mike Sukup, you've been through so much this season. You have accomplished so much this season, and you've accomplished so much tonight. First driver to take home a second win at the USA International Speedway here in the league. First driver to get more than 6 wins in a single season. And now you're a champion here in the ASRC Oval Series. How you feeling tonight?
Feeling pretty good, man. That was pretty neat. Really wish that I don't know what happened to Tyler and Steve, but I was really hoping they make it out.
Yeah, it was a little bit disappointing to hear they weren't able to make it out here tonight, but it's still an amazing show you put on, an amazing show everyone at DBR has put on this entire season. Y'all have put on amazing race after race. Y'all have really got something going with your team. But tonight, it's all you that made it happen here this evening. So I do gotta ask though, when that caution flag came out, was there any worry in your mind that maybe you weren't gonna take home the win on this thing?
I was pretty worried actually. I really think that Jason had the fastest car. I mean, I'd sit there and watch, and we went on a long run. He was coming, so it was making me a little nervous there. So I was definitely worried. I was glad to see him get back a car because after 10, 15 laps, he seemed to be the quickest.
Yeah, definitely had a heck of a race car, doing a lot better tonight than we've seen him a couple other races this season. So a big congratulations to him, and of course congratulations to you for 7 wins and a championship to your name. And Now you're going to be the first driver to ever take home any sort of prize more than just bragging rights for being a champion here in the ASRC Oval Series. I'm not entirely sure how the folks at SM Racing are going to be setting that up with you, but I'm sure you'll hear from them soon. I'm entirely out of that, but I got to congratulate you again. It's been such an amazing season for you, and I look forward to seeing what you can do in season number 11.
And four, we really had a good time. So we'll hope to see everybody out there again.
Good deal. Well, the microphone's all yours, Mr. Sukup. Who do you want to thank for making all this season happen?
Well, I'd like to thank the S&M Racing for coming on board. ASRC, everything that they do. It's really a lot of fun. I'm surprised that we don't see more cars, and I think next year you probably will. And then of course DBR, even though I don't know where they were tonight, but DBRs always makes it a lot of fun playing around.
Good deal. Well, thank you for coming out, Link. It's been a heck of a season, and I look forward to seeing you in season number 11.
Awesome, man. We'll see you then, and we appreciate what you do.
Good deal. You heard it here first. Your top 3 finishers here tonight. Mike Sukup, champion of the ASRC Oval Series. This is his first championship here with the league. And boy, I really could not think of a more deserving driver this season. What a heck of a run that 45 machine has put on. And of course, what more of a poetic way to round out the podium than with one of the drivers of our title sponsor and the league administrator, Jason Gardner, rounding out the podium. That said, that's about all we've got here at the USA International Speedway for y'all tonight. That's about all we've got here for ASRC Oval Series season number 10. We will be taking a week off next week for the off season. Then we'll just be going straight on into season number 11 the week after that. Same day, same time, Monday night at 10 p.m. Eastern. And of course, I gotta give everyone a big thank you from me, everyone, for tuning into all these streams, supporting all of these broadcasts, and of course everyone at ASRC for putting on such great shows every week for me to be able to broadcast for them. Because ultimately, these broadcasts can't go on without the amazing team of drivers that are actually out on the track competing each week. And of course, with the conclusion of this stream, this officially makes it 1 year of broadcasting for the ASRC Oval Series. I started doing this on a whim, just for shits and giggles, and now I do it as pretty much a weekly hobby, and it's been a great experience, and I'm really grateful for the folks at ASRC for letting me do this for them. But for now, thank you all for tuning in, thank you all for supporting the stream, and I will see you all next season. Have a good evening, race fans.